your head. But mostly what people are finding is the best way to make these is with strips of fabric and making ties out of it. Elastic has become a really precious commodity in American society these days. Everybody's run out of it really quickly. And it's not being replaced in stores because, you know, they've got their manufacturing stream and nobody expected everybody to need yards and yards of elastic overnight. So the ties are great because there is still fabric available. And it turns out that they're actually more comfortable. So your basic Deaconess mask is 2 pieces of fabric, an outside and an inside for your cover. The recommendation is that you use 2 different colors when you're doing this, because that way you can remember which one faced your mouth and which one faced outside.
Oh, okay.
The same on both, then you might actually be inhaling the, if you take it off and put it back on a little while later and there's any virus on it, you could inhale it by just putting it on backwards. So that's just a little safety thing right here. First thing you're going to do is you're going to sew these 2 pieces together, and you're just going to do a stitch all the way around the outside edge and leave an opening. And I like to leave the opening in the center of one of the longer sides, because then you can put a wire into it. And this is just a twist tie. The wires help if you're wearing glasses. They keep the steam from getting up under your mask and steaming up your glasses. So this is going to be boring for a second. I'm just going to stitch this.
While you're doing that, while you're stitching there, I just wanted to kind of talk through and kind of address, because we just moved over to YouTube. I had a hard time streaming it on Facebook. I don't know, something happened. But so we're over to YouTube. So if anybody just joined or just joined, we're doing a DIY mask making party, and we're just trying to kind of learn how to make masks. And I've got Lynn. How do I say your last name, Lynn? Is it Newton?
Newton.
Newton. Okay.
Newton, like the cookie or the scientist, depending on what you prefer.
I'll take the scientist in this moment.
Okay. All right.
Right now, the scientists are my favorite people.
It's all about science these days. Yeah.
Yeah. So we're learning how to make masks, and right now we've kind of talked about what like the elastic choices. Sounds like there's a lot more options. I think a lot of people right now are kind of what I've heard the most when we were kind of putting this together was like, oh, I can't find any of those supplies. I don't have elastic cord, or they call it Joann's fabric, and they don't have elastic cord. The fact is that any type of tie will work, it sounds like, or, you know, anything that you can tie around the ears is better than no tie, you know, is better than no mask, I should say. So if anything we can do that will give us a mask or yield us a mask, that's ideal. So Lynn, let me come back to you. How are things going on your?
All right, so I've got this sewn, and so now we just turn this right side out, put the stitching to the inside. And if you've ever made a pillow, a throw pillow or something, it's the same basic technique that you're using. Get your corners sticking out. Let's see if I can put this down so you can see it a little bit easier. All right, so there you have your basic little start of your mask. This, unfortunately, is the easiest part of the whole process. The cutting it out and doing this first stitching. Frankly, the tucks on the side are tricky. And if you're making masks for a medical organization that has requested masks, a lot of them are requesting this style of mask, and they're like Health First, and they're requesting that this side measurement become no less than 3.5 inches. And getting that amount of precision is really difficult unless you've got a template or a jig made for it or something. It can be really tricky. So the next thing you're gonna do, I've got this turned inside out, right side out, and I've got my opening that I turned it through at the top. This is where I'm gonna put my little wire in. And what I'm just gonna do is I'm gonna just kind of set it in the middle there and then measure it off with a couple of pins for the length of it. And then I'm gonna stitch a little pocket to hold it, okay? So I've got my two, I don't know if you can see, yeah, one pin, there's the other pin.
Yeah.
This right here, this is the length of my wire right in here. So I'm gonna do just a little kind of a U-shaped stitch there. And then when I'll set it in and I'll stitch this whole end closed. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I want to see you do it.
All
and then it'll
right.
make more sense.
Yeah, I know.
In practice, it makes sense.
It does. So,
Okay.
all right. So what I've got here, you might be able to see it on the back side more easily. I don't know. Can you see the stitching more easily on this side?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, great. So this is a little pocket now. So it's open at the tops. I still haven't secured that seam right here. And this little wire, what do I do with it? Here it is. We'll just slide right in there. Okay, so now the wire is in, it can be secured. You can pin this together if you want to. And now do a top stitch all the way around the whole outside edge. Okay.
With the wire inside now.
Yeah, the wire is inside.
Is that for the nose? That's going to be.
That is it's a nose wire. Yeah.
Okay.
It's just to secure that up here so that no air passes through and so it doesn't steam up your glasses if you happen to be like me.
Yeah. All right. Love that that authentic shaky sewing cam. That's my favorite. That's how you know it's real. This is really
That's
happening
right. That's
here.
right. It's live.
All right. Oh boy. So hey, Jessica, can I talk to you for real quick while we're waiting? How are you doing? How are things? You and Duncan, are you guys surviving or what's going on? Oh, still don't hear you. Oh, bummer.
All right.
Not getting any audio, Jessica. I don't know if is it. Sometimes I have to unmute. I'm still learning Zoom. I'd like to pretend that I'm an expert, given that I'm. Now I can hear you. Yeah, there you are.
I forgot that I had my nicer microphone. These headphones, they're not great.
Yeah.
For microphone, but yeah, we're hunkered down. Everybody's working from home.
Yeah.
In my converted guest bedroom to office.
How is that for you guys? You've had a beautiful studio. Jessica owns a video production company, 142 Productions, and you guys have had like a beautiful studio forever. How's that working from home? Is that tough?
It's tough paying rent on
Yeah.
2 places to work out of.
Yeah.
But everybody still has their jobs. So we're doing work with the city and trying to help them get their message out. That's the only video work we're doing right now. If it pertains to COVID, we'll do it. But otherwise, we've pushed everything out 2 months,
Yeah.
1 month.
Yeah. That's kind of obviously there's a lot of people who are in a similar situation. So, I hate, fortunately everything still exists. So, we're allowed to technically do some business. We can do a lot of it from home, but
Yeah.
it's certainly, this is kind of definitely trying times. Looks like Lynn is ready to show us some progress.
The next phase. All right. So it's been stitched all the way around the edges. We've got our little nose wire here at the top. And now we're going to do the pleats on the side. I tend to like just 2 pleats. I find it a lot easier to do just 2 pleats. The pattern calls for 3. But I don't know. It wasn't written for sewers, and it wasn't written with the materials in mind. It's just imitating a surgeon's mask, which is made with really different materials.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why these tend to be a little bit tricky to make, because they're really not designed to be made with this kind of material. That's just my editorial discussion about it.
Well, but before you jump into that too, speaking of the materials, because another kind of question that a lot of people have asked me is about like putting any kinds of filters or any of that kind of stuff in there. Could you speak to that for just a second?
Yes. There's been a lot of discussion about that. You really want to have a kind of a tightly woven 100% cotton. You want to pre-wash and bleach it before you start sewing it. The COVID virus, like all viruses, is very tiny and can still get in between the woven fabric. There have been some studies. Wake Forest did a study on this a year or 2 ago, which I just read about last night. It was really fascinating. 2 pieces of decent thickness, decent thread count cotton fabric will give you 50% coverage, which means it'll eliminate 50% of what's out there. An N95 mask gives you 95% coverage. So the 50% is better than nothing. You can add filter material to things. What a lot of people do is they make these with a pocket that you can slide. So have an opening and you can slide filter material in and out of it. These should be washed fairly frequently, but filter material doesn't tolerate being washed. Understand? So that's why you need to be able to remove it. So when you're washing the mask, you've got that filter material out, because otherwise it breaks down. Some patterns will tell you to put fusible interfacing or non-fusible interfacing in there. But if you stitch it in or iron it in, fuse it in, it will break down pretty quickly, and it won't offer you the protection that you think you have. So being able to pull something out and then wash these is a safer way to go if you want more than 50% protection.
What about before you jump ahead? What about because I've heard that the masks are more about protecting other people than protecting yourself. Like, because I'm a healthy younger person, and so like I'm probably a carrier.
You could very well be.
And that so that like actually the mask, is that still 50%? Like, am I, is it any better?
As far as I know, that is the barrier limit. There are some cottons that are a little bit better. In this Wake Forest study, they could get up to 70% protection with certain cottons, but it didn't specify. It really talked more about the thread count, and just to make sure that you don't see a lot of passing through the little holes in the weave. That's going to be your better bet. But kind of the standard is 2 layers is going to give you 50%.
Okay.
The other interesting thing with filters is you can use a lot of things to add a filter barrier to it. And this is not World Health Organization or anything advised, but information I've gotten is that vacuum cleaner bags, they're highly filtered material. If you cut up a vacuum cleaner bag that fits in there, that will give you that extra protection. It's not going to be 95%, but it will be a barrier that will give you much more security.
Okay.
So I have, I even saw that bridal bags, the bags that they store bride's gowns in, are made out of the same fabric or the same material as N95 masks. And so I actually, a bridal salon donated a couple of bags to me. And I saw it on a Facebook page, maybe this one, I don't remember. And so I've been sliding that in for extra filtration.
Okay.
Into mine. I told you already, I'm not in love with this design. And for medical facilities, I've been doing a lot of sewing for medical facilities. And the ones I've been making are much more tailored and have a much more fitted covering. All right. They have ties. And they also have a pocket. And so the medical facility can fit a surgeon's mask inside this, or this can cover over an N95, or in my case, for personal use, I've been putting a piece of wedding dress cover.
Yeah. Interesting times. What, you know.
It really is. It really is.
Yeah. Yeah.
So anyway, our little tucks on the side, you're just going to do like a little zigzag on the side. Can you see that? Yeah, it's a little in a zag, and pin it, and do that a second time on the same side, and pin it. And these are your pleats. Okay. Now, the tricky part, of course, is getting it so it's even on the other side, right? Because duplicating something, making perfect symmetry is always hard.
What is the purpose of those pleats? What is that?
It makes it a little bit more contoured around your face. It actually it'll gather up on the side and be wider in the center and
Sure. Okay.
up again. So it acts as an extra protection.
Cool.
Makes it a little more fitted.
And that's important because you said this virus especially is small like other viruses, and so it could get out
Yeah,
through the cracks.
right, exactly.
Okay. And if I'm, you've got a sewing machine here, but I've been watching quite a few videos about it. I could sew this myself, yeah? Like with
You
a hand.
can hand sew these.
I know it wouldn't be as fast, and I probably
Right.
wouldn't be as pretty, but it'll get done.
And even experienced sewers, they find it takes them 30 to 40 minutes to make one of these. So don't expect that you're just gonna just dash one out in a second, and don't be impatient with yourself. It takes you an hour or more. It just is. It's some things just are, and that just is. It's a picky little pattern.
Well, and like I was saying, kind of at the top of this thing is like literally every single one is helpful. So,
Yeah.
a lot of people are, I think, feeling like, oh, I could never do it, or it would take me too long. But like
Right.
1 hour spent in quarantine making masks, could
Right.
literally mean someone else's life. So
It could. It really could. All right. So now I've got this. You can see the 2 tucks. You can
yeah,
see
wow,
going
that's starting to
all the
look
way
pretty
across.
professional then.
Yeah, it's looking actually like a mask, isn't it? So then you want to stitch these edges down, and then you're going to add the ties on the side. So now I'm going to do a little bit more stitching. You're going to see the sewing machine cam shaking up the table.
Can't wait.
What's most interesting to me about the mask making is that it's very fabric poor and thread rich. You use a lot of thread compared to the amount of fabric you use. I have gone through so many spools making these, but that all adds to the structure of it. You want the structure to be good and sound.
Sure. Sure. And I'm sort of comforted to know that you could wash these, right? I mean, so in a way, I mean, like, you know,
Yes.
if it took an hour,
Yep.
like, but you could, this could, if it was just for you or for your family members, that could
Right.
be the mask for going out.
Exactly. Wash it,
Mhm.
ready for the next day. And the virus stays alive on fabric. I've seen different things, but it's about 24 hours. So, you know, technically you could use it and then pick it up a couple days later and be safe without washing it. I like to wash mine a lot because
Sure. I mean, if there's one thing that I've gained out of this, it's washing everything a lot. Like, that's a habit that I've developed. Over the last
Yes.
couple years.
yeah, all my laundry's going into hot water these days. I'm not,
Yeah.
Cold
Somehow
water stuff.
cold water doesn't seem like enough
No,
anymore. I
no,
want
not enough, not
boiling
enough.
hot everywhere. Yeah. Same page.
Yep. All new standards here.
Yeah.
So now if you were going to put elastic on it, you would cut two 5-inch pieces and you would sew one here, one end here and one end here and make a loop. And then you'd sew one end here and one end here and make a loop and ta-da,
So
your mask.
when you say you'd sew it in, you'd literally sew like the
Yeah,
elastic right in, like you put thread through it and sew it into the.
Yes. Yeah. Can you see this one? This is just
Yeah.
a piece of
yes.
elastic and they're stitching through here and I did it 3 times over each one. Just back
Wow.
and forth, you know, just to make sure that it's really secure and it's not going to pull out and rip, especially when you're making them for medical facilities and that sort of thing. These are going to endure very heavy use. And you want to make sure that they're nicely done, that they're excellently done. So my solution has been strips of fabric. So this is a 40-inch strip of fabric, and this is a second 40-inch strip of fabric. I fold it in half and kind of measure off the middle of it and put the middle of it in the middle of your mask here. Again, wrong sides facing. This is where a machine really is better than hand sewing. Because this is
Actually, while you're doing that, and since you pointed it out, so depending on where the person is who's watching this in the future, Old Time
Mhm.
Pottery is donating sewing machines to anyone who wants to do it. Unfortunately, the one in Melbourne is not. It doesn't have it, or they're not participating, or whatever. So I did call to check on that, but there are. Apparently a lot of Old Time Potteries are like just giving you sewing machines to use.
Wow.
So that's kind of cool.
That's incredible. That's a great offer.
Yeah. Apparently all the materials, I should say too. It's the fabric and the thread and everything, but the sewing machine is obviously the kind of the piece that is you know, most people I guess don't really have one of those in their house. At least I
Yeah, a lot of people don't. I would guess that a Facebook page like this, where people might have a sewing machine. I have seen different people say, I have a machine, but I don't have any fabric. I can machine to people. I imagine a lot of that is going to be happening over the next couple of months too.
It's unreal, and that's the other thing is you know, it might, a lot of people have kind of said like, oh, by the time I figure it out it'll be too late, but you know, we have months and months. So I mean, like, practice makes perfect. If you made a mask a day for the next, you know, month, we still would have not nearly enough masks. You know what I mean? So it's not gonna be too many, and you're not gonna waste your time. It's definitely a worthwhile use.
Yeah.
of people's time right now.
Absolutely.
Especially given that I've already finished all the tasks my wife has given me, so I'm largely I know where she's running out of stuff. I keep doing it, but I don't know. We're running out. Since we are live, I guess I'll just I'll catch everybody up in case somebody is jumping in. It looks like we have a couple of viewers on YouTube here. We're learning how to make a mask. I've got Lynn Newton here, who's helping us make a mask. She's a week-long expert at mask making, and we're all learning to do this together. If you have any questions or something like that, please leave a comment and we'll try to get back to you. And right now we're nearing the end. We've got pleats. We've got a pretty nice looking mask coming together. I'm gonna throw it on Lynn.
Okay.
How are we looking over there?
All right, so now I've got my straps sewn. They're attached to the mask. And now I'm just gonna fold it over and pin it together and stitch the whole thing down so that they're not just unbound.
So you're doing this is in lieu of like elastic or something like that.
Right, right.
So right now in Florida, in the area that we are, elastic cord is really hard to come by. People are getting very creative about their tools for making these masks. Fabric is pretty easy because you can use a lot of cotton sheets. You can use good shirts, I'm told, although Lynn maybe would want to chime in on that. But there's a lot of options for the fabric, but having the actual cord is tough to find. So
Yep.
Am I right
So
about
this
that,
has-
Lynn?
Yes, this has been the best solution that I have seen on my the Facebook pages that I'm part of, is making the ties. And like I said earlier, medical professionals actually prefer them. They're more comfortable when they're wearing them all day. These masks for a medical professional are meant to extend the life of an N95 mask. So they'll have an N95 or a surgeon's mask underneath one of these, but instead of having them as single use, they'll be wearing one for the whole day. And so these extend the life of those.
So how would that, while you're doing that, how would that normally work? Or to your knowledge, how would that normally work? They would be replacing that between each patient.
Yes, yes.
And then because of the shortage right now, they're trying to make one last literally all day. These guys
All
are
day.
working
In some
18-hour
cases,
shifts.
all week.
Yeah. Wow.
And so having a cover that is washable and, able to be sterilized and comfortable is just prolonging the use of something that's in really short supply.
Yeah. Yeah, it's incredible. Again, while you're doing that, just to say that it just seems like such a small thing, and I was really moved after talking to a couple of healthcare workers in a row that were just telling me how dire straits that this is something that they would normally just throw away after every appointment.
Every
And there's
use.
just not enough, so they're like pitching pennies. It reminds me of when we were first starting out and young, and we would reuse coffee filters
Mhm.
because we
Right.
just didn't want, it was like something that was so disposable. It was like the idea of going to spend $2 on a coffee filter was too much, and that's I think kind of like that's the situation right now. Is there just isn't enough. There isn't any to choose from. It's not like cheapness. It's they just don't have any.
They don't have it. And because demand has risen so sharply and supply has dropped so sharply, a 70-cent item is now $7. And so even if they can find them, making that change in their budget is really, it's huge.
Mhm.
Cents to $7. It's
Yeah.
if you're thinking every single patient that they see,
Mhm. Mhm.
they can afford that.
Yeah, and not to mention, this is a situation where everybody's already, I'm sure, very like money is tight for everybody right now. So I mean, the
Yes.
idea that they're having to pay 100 or 10 times, I can't remember what you said a second ago, but
Yeah.
10 times the price, any type of increase is too much is too much in these kinds of moments. So
Yep,
crazy.
it is.
I
I'm
had a question.
oh, go ahead.
Can
Yeah.
you hear me? I found these are my headbands.
Mhm.
And I didn't know if there's been any plans that utilize something like this to
Yes.
go around the back.
I have seen that. If you do on the side edges, if you do a pocket and you can feed those through in the pocket and that will pull it in the back. You actually wouldn't need to put the pleats in if you've got elastic going through a pocket on the edge because it'll pull that,
Mm.
gather that for you.
Yeah, that's a good question. That's probably what I'm gonna end up using too, is I found a lot of headbands
Yeah.
in the
That
house.
is a solution that people have been doing.
Yeah, I'm gonna,
So now I've got this all pinned. My next step will just to be stitch this and I've got one tie done. And then I'll do the same thing on the other side and I have a mask with ties ready to roll.
And that'll be ready for healthcare professionals. That'll be ready for any imaginative use, any imaginative
Yep.
use.
Absolutely.
Wow.
Absolutely.
All right. Well,
Does that help?
I had a lot of agenda here today, but these are crazy times. I don't want to throw any shade at them for not showing up, and I had pretty reasonable expectations. Try not to put too much on anybody right now. So I don't know if they're going to come. So I wanted to kind of wrap it up. I feel like I've learned a lot about making a mask already, Lynn.
Great.
I appreciate you taking the time to help.
You're so welcome.
Like I said, I'm gonna cut this up a little bit and try to kind of compress it into one finished mask. Would you mind just showing me a completed mask with the kind of ties that you had? I think you held one up a minute ago.
Well, this is a different pattern. This is the more fitted kind, but
Sure.
this is how the ties work. And 40 inches of fabric will give you ample room to tie it in the back. Those of us who grew up in the age of girls' dresses with bows all know how to tie behind our heads. For men, it's a new skill set. My
Yeah.
God, I had to learn how to do this.
It's okay. I had a man bun like 8 years ago. So
So yeah, you know how to do things in the back.
yeah, it's good. It's good. I wanted to before I forget too, I just looked at my notes. Lynn, you had mentioned something about kind of misconceptions and some kind of some information out there that was incorrect. And I just wanted to, was there anything that you wanted to chime in on that?
Yeah, one of the things that people are talking about is the bandana. You can use a bandana folded in half, but usually those are pretty loosely woven fabric. Those are not the kind of tight fabric that you really need for protection. Those aren't going to give you a lot of protection. The other thing is t-shirt material is not good at all. If it's knit fabric, it shouldn't be used.
Oh, really? Okay.
Because the holes are too big in the knit, and a virus will be able to pass through that really, really easily. It's almost like doing nothing.
Do you think so as far as home materials, what's a good home material?
If you've got a set of sheets with a pretty decent, that's cotton and a pretty decent thread count that you're willing to sacrifice, use that. You can go to Walmart. You can still get like pillowcases. Get a package of 2 pillowcases. It'll cost you under $10. And that will give you enough for a lot of masks, as long as you get the pillowcases that are a pretty decent thread count.
Forgive me, but when you say pretty decent thread count, what are we talking about? Like 400
or 300 to 400 would give you some of those. You can get sheet sets that are like 150 and 200. Don't bother with those because those are just like air. But get something 300 and above will definitely help.
Okay.
And even put a third piece of fabric in there. If your fabric feels thin or you're just having a real OCD moment, as many of us are right now, put a third piece of fabric inside as a liner, because it will wash up just as well as the outside pieces. And that's
Okay.
just an extra barrier.
Okay. So I'm glad you mentioned that. So even having one on the inside, it still would wash out and just
Mhm.
be in a hot water wash.
Yeah.
And then one more question. If we make a bunch of masks and we want to donate them somewhere, how do we go about finding a place to donate them?
Right now, Health First is the only place that has made a public request for donations. And there's information out there about where to bring them. They're very specific about the size they want the masks to be. And they want them with elastic. I belong to two Facebook pages that just work on meeting requests.
Hmm.
The one that has been the most active locally that I've been part of is called Army of Masks. And you can go on, you can register, and you can register as a sewer, as a donor.
Mhm.
And then you can find out where people are looking for masks. And you can go in there and register as somebody who needs masks.
Mhm.
So there are a lot of, it's gone way up since this whole mask making
Sure.
information has come out in the last couple of days. The requests have just gone through the roof on that. And right now, I just saw something about an hour ago, maybe, that was, there are 200 sewers, 276 sewers, and a request for over 3,000 masks at this particular moment.
Wow.
And those are all Central Florida. So that is Orlando, Daytona, and us, that kind of golden triangle.
Wow.
But that's who that particular page is trying to meet the needs of.
Yeah.
Like,
That's an incredible need. That sounds like that's a lot of hours. Because you said like even an experienced sewer, that might be an hour-long project for each mask.
It
Yeah.
might, yeah. Yeah. It's a lot of hours. It's a lot of dedication.
Mhm.
I've been doing with Army of Masks is there are 5 of us, and we work together as a group, and I identify a need of, right now we're working on a request by a hospice center in Rockledge, and they wanted 50 masks. And so instead of me looking at it and going, I can't, 50 masks, that's way too much. But if I've got 5 sewers and I say, okay, how many masks can you put together? And then we can identify a time when we'll have enough masks to bring and drop off over there.
Mhm.
That has worked better for me. I like achievable goals, and
Yeah.
I don't want to be overwhelmed when I see all of these things that need 25 and 50 and 75 masks. I look at my oneself and I say, I can't possibly do that.
Mhm.
But if I say to the 5 women that I'm working with, can we do this? And they say yes, then we get it done. And so right now we've got 74 masks in the works for 2 different organizations.
Wow. That's incredible. I didn't even know that those. So I was surprised to find out you said that those existed before all of this. Those groups, or
No, these all came up in the last 2 weeks.
okay.
Sister is in Michigan. She's a nurse practitioner at a walk-in clinic and hospital in Michigan. And so this bloomed in Michigan a week or 2 before it really bloomed here.
Sure.
So she alerted me right off the bat as to the need for masks and what was going on and stuff. And I have a second sister in Michigan who is also a sewer. And so she hooked me up with one Facebook page that had started like the day before. And
That's awesome.
and so that one is more Michigan based, but if anybody goes onto that one from Florida, I get the person's name, and I add her to my group.
Yeah.
And then I found this other one. Somebody approached me and said, I have another group, and that I want to say maybe a week, 10 days that one's been in place.
Wow. Well, so other than, obviously just like making masks, how do we help out a group like that? What do you need the most right now?
Um,
More
deliver,
sewers?
sewers, deliveries. If you've got materials at home and you know you won't get to it, you can contact them and donate materials. Everybody is doing this as a donation. There isn't anybody who's profiting off of this.
Mhm.
I've seen people put ads up on Facebook pages saying, oh, it costs us $10 to make these and we'll sell them to you at our cost, that sort of thing. That's not what these groups are doing at
Yeah.
all. It's just whatever our stockpile is in fabric and elastic and thread.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I've got some of my team is working on making these right now, and we're spending our time learning how to do this, and that's kind of the nature of this. And we decided together we really wanted to inspire 500 masks being made, which I know it seems like a lofty a lofty goal, but we want to we really think that like in the same way that women have went back to work to save America before. I think that the people who are stuck home right now can work in this way and save America another way, and probably the world. I think a little bit, but I think especially in this country, we've all got extra time right now, and this just seems like a great way to spend it.
Absolutely. And we all feel so out of control. We've lost control in so many areas of our lives that this is one way we can just feel like we've got a little bit of control. It's really important. That's really the previous video on this page was talking about being mindful and dealing with stress and that sort of thing. And for me, being a type A person, I'm always looking for a solution. Well, how can I fix this? And this is my small way of being able to fix something. And I think a lot of people are like that. My first reaction was I went through 5 pounds of flour in about 3 days and made cookies for everybody in my neighborhood, and just wandered around doing wellness checks. But this is a much more productive thing to do, I think.
Totally. My first reaction was, oh, there's my daughter. She wants to help make masks.
Awesome.
You want to
Be a
make
big
some
help.
masks? Yeah. So I think my first reaction, I kept just kind of texting people and saying, what can I do? And I mean, everyone's answer is kind of like, what can you do? I mean, no, there's nothing to do. And so this is nice to have something other than buying toilet paper, another way to be another way to be productive or to help. This is something that will actually move the needle maybe and actually help. So well, thank you again, Lynn.
You're so welcome.
I really appreciate it. Actually, I forgot about this. Is this the right Facebook page so that we're on the same page?
Yes, that's it.
That's it.
Army of Masks.
All right, cool.
Yeah.
So that's the one. We'll share that.
Excellent.
When we share these videos, and make sure that we get some attention for that. And if anybody is looking to make masks, please reach out to me. I've been given a lot of resources about DIY masks and a lot of ways that we can all make masks at home. So I'm gonna go ahead and end the stream now.
Awesome.
Thank you for coming. Lynn, thank you, Jessica, for joining us. Oh, that is a cute picture, I think. All right, let's do what we can, and everybody stay healthy out there, okay?
Sounds great.
Thank you for organizing this, Eric.
Yeah, you got it. See you.